Hello, everybody. Welcome to Attitudes with Andy. This is the place where we get to learn and grow together from elite people. But as always, Wellness Wednesdays are solo days. So today we are talking about fear. That's right. Fear. Ooh, what a topic. And the reason we are talking about fear is because fear is one of the main things that holds us back from doing the things that we want to do. Okay? It holds us back from being all that we are capable of being. And let me tell you, we are capable of insane and incredible things. So, what is fear? All right. Now we can use the technological term. Excuse my grammar, by the way. We can use the proper term, being fear of anything inside, or whether we're physically in danger or mentally in danger, whatever it is. But fear presents itself in many different ways, okay? And fear is there because we are wanting to stay alive. It's a good thing. We want to stay alive, okay? And so obviously if we suddenly saw a tiger, we're going to feel a lot of fear. It is our body's reaction being like, yo, sister, y'all are in danger. Your life is in danger and we need to do something about it, okay? So your reaction would probably be just run. You're probably not logically thinking about anything. You probably have a lot of adrenaline and a lot of fear happening when you're seeing a tiger, and it's probably to run. Or you might freeze, which isn't ideal. Anyway, and so, we have these human reactions to keep us alive. That is chef's kiss, very splendid. And then there's the psychological stuff, right? So suddenly when you are standing in a room of 100 people and you need to give a speech, suddenly you're feeling a lot of fear. You want to run away, you're heating up, your heart is beating, and your body thinks that you're in danger. When really, you're not. You're not in danger, okay? But you are perceiving this thing to be fearful. Even if you logically are like, I'm good. But then your body's like, whoa, I'm not feeling good, right? And so we need to understand how our brain works and how it works around fear so that we can overcome fear. And I'm not talking about we can stop feeling the fear, but what we can do is we can feel the fear and do it anyway, especially when we know the science and the logic behind like how our body and our brain works, okay? And so our brain is obviously so smart, it loves us, and it wants to keep us safe. And how does one keep us safe? We stay in the known, okay? Because being in the known is good. We know that it's safe, we know what's going to happen, we know how it's going to feel. It's all good. Now, the bad side of staying in the known is we're in the known, okay? Because we've been there, we've done that. And if we constantly stay in the known, we're not doing anything new. And if we're not doing anything new, we're not growing. So you can see the problem here, right? The problem is that we always hear it. You have to get out of your comfort zone in order to grow. And what that means is you have to feel the fear. That's why you're out of your comfort zone, because you're doing something new in order to grow. Okay? Now, how can fear show up in your life? Because sometimes you don't realize that you're feeling fearful. Okay? So, a few of the ways is procrastinating. Okay? You might be procrastinating starting that podcast you said you were going to start, or starting that YouTube channel, or that business, or starting to go to the gym, all of that, right? You're procrastinating because you're feeling fearful. Procrastination is a huge thing. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Your brain is like, cool, this is how I protect myself. I procrastinate, and then I label myself as a lazy person. And then because I label myself as a lazy person, well, guess what? I don't actually have to do the scary thing. I can feel guilty and feel bad about myself, but I don't have to do the scary thing. So we're all good. Okay? Another way is we make up lies and excuses to ourselves. I'm too tired. I don't know how to do it. I don't have enough money. Yada, yada, yada. It's like, everybody knows the first step in what they need to do. facts, okay? As I've said before in this podcast, I get a lot of messages, Andy, how do I start a podcast? Okay, you know how to start a podcast. You do. You know that you can go onto Google and type in how to start a podcast. So don't tell me you don't know how to do something when you know how to take the steps to find the answer. Another way is perfectionism. Perfectionism is a really, really great way to stop doing the scary thing, okay? People are like, oh, I'm just not ready, or it's just not perfect, whatever it is. I had this really great quote where it was like, perfectionism is fear in fancy shoes, right? We always think, oh, it's not good enough. I need to wait a little bit more. You're actually feeling fearful. And it's a really great strategy for you to stop feeling the fear is being a perfectionist, because then nothing's ever going to be good enough and then you don't have to put anything out there. Let me tell you, another one of my favorite quotes is, if you're not embarrassed by your first product, you didn't start soon enough, period. Okay? Like, I think about that all the time, and how I can't listen to my first few podcast episodes. I cringe. Oh, just thinking about them. That's good. That means I've grown. That's so good. So you should be embarrassed by your first product, okay? Don't even worry. So those are a few of the ways that fear can show up. Another way is feeling guilt or shame, because that's a really convenient way of not having to take ownership and feel the fear, right? Because if you're shaming yourself and saying, well, I'm not worthy of this and I'm not good, and just putting yourself down and feeling really low vibrations, then guess what? You don't have to do. You don't have to do the scary thing, right? This time last year when I wanted to start my podcast and I had all the self-doubt running through my head of, you can't do this, no one will listen to you, why are you worthy? That's what was going through my head, right? And it's like, I could have listened to that and been like, yeah, you're right. Like, no one's going to listen to me. Who am I to say this stuff? And that's a really convenient way to not have to feel the fear and do it, right? But the thing that will stop the head noise and that will stop the fear is by taking action, okay? Because as soon as I released my first episode, whilst I still felt vulnerable and scared, I felt nowhere near as fearful as I did before I had done that action. Because when we feel fear, it's usually our brain thinking too far ahead, and then we've made up these made up situations in our head. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're like, oh, but what happens if I release it and then no one likes it and then everyone says it's shit and then I feel really bad? And it's like, you've just gone 20 steps ahead. Let's just do the first step, which is picking a name for your podcast or whatever it is, right? And so it's so important to feel the fear and do it anyway. Other things I do is I ask myself some questions to help rationalize how I'm feeling. The first one I ask is, what is the worst that can happen if I do this action / don't do this action? This is really important, guys, okay? Because asking yourself that, you can literally play it out in your head. Okay, what's the worst thing that can happen if I start this podcast? Okay, it would be that no one listens and people think it's lame. Okay, I can live with that. What's the worst thing that can happen if I don't do it? Well, in a year's time or 5 years' time or 10 years' time, I might still be thinking about it. And I might think, what if? What if I had have just started? What if I had have just been consistent? What if I had have just committed to doing that week on, week on, week on, right? And that's not something I want to live with, okay? Another question I ask myself is, am I going to die? And I know that seems so ridiculous, but again, we can feel so much fear, and I get it, like a disgusting amount of fear. But at the end of the day, we need to remind ourselves and our body, like, am I going to die? Am I in danger? The answer is most likely going to be no, you're not. And so if you're not going to die, you need to do it, okay? And so I want you to know that this podcast is not about how to stop feeling the fear, because we can't bypass that. We can't. And once you understand that and you hear of all the greats and what they went through and the fear that they felt and the self-doubt that they felt, you're going to realize it's normal and it's human. And it's our body protecting ourselves. That's all it is at its core. And so when you can look at it like that, you can push through and go, all right, my brain thinks that there's something to be fearful of because I'm in the unknown. I've never been here before. Okay. Another thing that really helps me is listening to other people who have done it, because they're the example. They show what's possible. And luckily we live in a world where there's so much information out there that whatever it is you want to do, somebody's probably done it before. So you can go learn from them, right? How awesome is that? Okay. So if you're listening to this podcast and you want to start a podcast, and I know you do because there's so many people who want to start a podcast, know that it's possible. It's of course possible, and people will listen to you. Even if it's one person, even if one person benefits, that's fine. And so I'm going to love you and leave you here because I actually have a masterclass on Fuck Your Fears, and it is all about how to overcome your fears. It's an hour and 20 minutes, I believe, on how to, could be an hour or something. And it's all the practical ways and scientific ways to break through fear and take action towards a life that you want. But I wanted to kind of give my favorite little bits into this episode. So if you did enjoy it, feel free to go have a look at that masterclass. You can check it out in the link in my bio on my personal Instagram or the podcast Instagram called Attitudes with Andy. Anyway, go feel your fears and do it anyway. I believe in you. You definitely do not need this masterclass, by the way, to do the things, okay? You probably got enough juju out of this to go and do it without the masterclass. But if you did enjoy this and you're feeling like you just want a little bit more help and a little bit more info, then go check it out, all right? But if not, you don't need that. You know exactly what to do. And I believe in you with everything, and you have got this. So if you did enjoy this, feel free to leave a review. 5 stars would be amazing, but whatever you think, press follow or subscribe on whatever platform you're on. We upload every Monday and Wednesdays, and I'll see you guys next week for another episode. Bye.